Thank you for checking out Wrestleverse. This is the second episode of the show, and I'm going to be doing another watch along this time. So whether you're joining me on YouTube or you're listening to the podcast, however you're doing it, you need to go on Peacock, and we're going to find WCW's The Great American Bash from 1989. So that's going to be WCW The Great American Bash Season 3, Episode 1, and we're going to fast forward all the way up to 1 hour, 46 minutes and 52 seconds. That's 1 hour, 46 minutes and 52 seconds. That's where we'll start. We'll do a countdown right before we get going. But first, make sure you check out the Instagram. Check out Wrestleverse Instagram. Check out the YouTube channel. All of it's under Wrestleverse. And if you're not listening to the podcast, it is everywhere. It's on various platforms all over the place. So if you haven't found the Great American Bash on Peacock yet, you can pause it and come back. But now let's start the countdown to get this going in 3, 2, 1, play. So you're going to see the two rings there under the cage. Bobby Eaton and is it Eaton? It's not Eaton. Bobby Eaton and Jimmy Garvin are the ones starting this off. And Wargames is such a cool thing to me. They just locked up. They're rolling around the ropes there, trading some big fists. But I love the war game concept. And it came from the mind of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Everybody's got a Dusty Rhodes impression. They're not all great, but they're not all bad either. But yeah, Dusty Rhodes came up with this, man. And everybody knows Dusty Rhodes is a big part of professional wrestling in general. So I like the idea. I like the idea of two separate rings and one massive cage. And this is great. It's entertaining. You have two teams that are kind of not a round robin, but what I want to say, like a team always has an advantage after the first 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes, another guy from a team will come in, and then 2 minutes after that, one person, and it's 2 minutes from then on out until everybody's in the ring. Then a team can win. I like the idea. The only thing, it's not even a gripe. It's just something I noticed you watch it here in 89. And if you watched one from like Survivor Series just recently, they have the teams in shark cages. So it's kind of like, in a way, it's almost like the Elimination Chamber now. So like each team is in a cage. They let one person out at a time to go to the big cage and kind of get into the match, right? Here, they're not doing that. They're not even coming down like the ramp. So the teams are just outside the cage. So for me, and this is just me being a stickler about it, why aren't those guys throwing down outside the cage? I wouldn't have them outside the cage. And again, that's just me. I'm not in the business. It's just something I noticed. This is still great. This is still entertaining. It's still pro wrestling. So yeah, not everything's logical. It's not, it's just phony baloney, baby. So yeah, we're in here, Bobby Eaton and Jimmy Garvin getting it done. And we'll run down the teams here. Let's talk about the teams that are a part of this. Oh, that's pretty cool. Bobby Eaton grabs the top of the cage and kind of does a little double kick to Jimmy. So let's get the teams. In team one, this is the team that's going to have the advantage. So after every period, or after the first 5 minutes, they'll have another person. They'll always have an extra person when it's an odd number. So in team one is the Fabulous Freebirds from Bad Street, USA. And I'm a big fan of the Freebirds. Michael Hayes is fantastic. Terry Gordy, Jimmy Garvin. You can go back and look at their rivalry, their feud with the Von Erichs back in WCCW in Texas. So that's a great thing to look back on. But you see here Michael Hayes jawing over to Bobby Eaton as Jimmy Garvin's pushing him up against the cage. And it's the Freebirds are the Freebirds, man. And they are well known. I'm trying to think of words to use that aren't overplaying who they are, because I know who I don't know if every fan knows who the Freebirds are, but you should definitely go and check them out. They're definitely a top tag team of all time. They are the ones, I believe, established the Freebird rule, where you have 3 guys and you can pick 2 of those guys to be in a match for like a tag team titles. Like if they had the titles, it could be Terry Gordy and Jimmy Garvin are the tag team champs, but they can, swap in Michael Hayes, and it could be like Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin. You see what I mean? So the Freebirds have done a lot for pro wrestling just in general. And then with them are the Samoan SWAT team of Samu and Fatu. And Fatu, a little bit of factoids for you here. Fatu ends up being Rikishi. This is, it's really cool to see a very young Rikishi in WCW as Fatu. And they also have Paul Heyman with them, which is cool, man. I mean, and here he's Paulie Dangerously, I believe. And it's where he used to carry around that big block cell phone. It's like, it looked like a brick in his hand. It was great. I absolutely love WCW. It is my favorite by far. There's never going to be another promotion like it for me. So watching this is fantastic. And you see Paulie Dangerously saying something. I don't know if that was Samu or Fatu. I didn't get a good look. I was too busy talking. So we got a Boston Crab here by Bobby Eaton on Jimmy Garvin. And again, he can't say he quits. He can't give up. So he's got to take it, but it's great, man. And I've said before in the last episode, I love the retro look. Here comes old Terry Gordy. Terry Gordon. It's not Terry Gordy, is it? Have I been saying his name wrong the whole time? But it's Terry's in the ring. And he's putting it to Bobby Eaton. This is where I was talking about the disadvantage or the advantage. So now the Freebirds have the advantage, and they're going to work on Bobby here. There's Paulie Dangerously, and he's got that big cell phone in his hand. And it's so incredible for how long Paul Heyman has been around. And you see this is an 89. This is, where are we at here? 23. So that's 34 years ago, and you get a shot of Michael Hayes there. This is where he's talking to the fans. This is just pure heel, trying to get the heat, brother. And it's great. So yeah, like saying, I was talking about the old school stuff, the old school look. I love this look. The 3-color ropes, the blue, white, and yellow, which was WCW's colors back in the day. You got the yellow turnbuckles. The mat is kind of a darker gray. And you see the turnbuckles, if I can get another shot of them here, there's a yellow turnbuckle, and then 2 of them are blue. I like that just odd, kind of not uniform look on these rings. And which is kind of, with this being the Great American Bash, I'm surprised these aren't red, white, and blue, because around the ring on the apron, there are red, white, and blue. I don't know what, I guess you call them decorations. I don't know what to call them, but it's red, white, and blue kind of style of an apron. So you got Terry and Jimmy. They're working on Bobby Eaton here. And then you kind of see Steve Williams kind of stalking the ring out there on the outside. Dr. Death is incredible, by the way. If you don't know who Dr. Death is, take a time to, here he's coming in. That's why he was walking around. So Dr. Death's in the ring right now and just putting the work in, brother. And he's wearing the Hogan red and yellow, man. But I am a huge fan of Steve Williams. His New Japan stuff is awesome. Him and Scott Norton are probably 2 of my favorite wrestlers to watch in New Japan of the older stuff. And because it just, man, they would just put these guys through the ringer. So here you go. You got Terry and Dr. Death. This is sweet. I remember watching this earlier. Gorilla Press presses him up into the top of the cage, which is awesome. It's such a cool visual. And the cage is bouncing. Steve's still Gorilla Press slamming him. Finally throws him to the ground. So now we're even. We're at 2-2. And this is the cool thing. Like, Dr. Death is the equalizer in this. And he's putting it to the bad guys, right? He's a face in this. Obviously, the Freebirds are the heels. But, I mean, you just keep going back. Garvin and Bobby are still doing it. So where was I? What was I talking about? Paul Heyman and his phone? I was talking about one team. I haven't even introduced the other team yet. So that was one team, the Freebirds and the Samoan SWAT team. Team 2 is the Midnight Express of Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane. Now, they had Jim Cornette come out with them. The Midnight Express has been a team all through the 80s, and they were a big deal in the 80s. I can remember their rivalry with the Rock and Roll Express of Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. So that was a huge deal in the 80s. And then the teams I'm naming off here in this match are big names for the 80s. They're huge. So they had the Midnight Express and then Steve Williams, who's obviously in the ring right now. They also teamed with the Road Warriors or Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal. Paul Ellering came out with him. So here comes one of the Samoan SWAT team. They're coming in now. And what's really cool about this, like I've talked about before, I pre-watch these matches. I don't just shoot it from the hip here, guys. So what's really cool about this is when I watched this the first time, obviously with the sound on, is Michael Hayes doing everything he can to not have to go into this match. And he's trying to get everybody else to go in before, you go in and I'll go in later, you go in, and it's really cool to watch. And it tells a little bit of a story in itself. So now we're watching this. Now they got the advantage. And that's one of the things I like is it kind of, I got a little fish hook. That's a great shot. You got Jimmy Garvin and Bobby Eaton. Jimmy's got the fish hooks on him right there in the corner, right in front of the cameraman. And I pay attention to that production stuff too. I think that's fantastic. That's an awesome shot of what that was. But anyway, I'm talking about the advantage. So you get these matches pick up and they slow down. They get fast and slow down. And then you have like Steve Williams came in and kind of leveled it out and slowed down a little bit again. But now since we're every 2 minutes, it's going to be a nice little pace. That 5 minutes is kind of rough. It's kind of tough to get through because it's just two guys and nothing's going to really happen until other people get in the ring. So now this is where we're at now. And the pace it's a nice little roller coaster. It's pretty cool. So here we go. And everybody, they're just picking somebody, throwing some shots. No real big moves happening right now. It's just the 3-on-2. And this is kind of a neat spot. You're giving your faces kind of, they're fighting back against the three heels. They're winning the disadvantage. And here comes Animal, brother. He's got the LOD face paint. I've never seen the blue and the blue and the red face paint before. I thought he was coming in, maybe not. There he is. Here comes the Animal. But the best is I like that shot right there. They always come back for this wide shot where it's the cage and you can see the two rings and you see all the wrestlers kind of doing stuff. What's weird to me, not really weird, but they're staying primarily in one ring. Now they're moving to the other one. That's when you get like 2 or 3 different matches within the match because of the 2 rings. That's always pretty cool, I think. So you see this here, that another wide shot. That's just such a great shot. Oh man, Animal catapults himself over. And that's one of the these are just big dudes demolishing each other now. And then if you're listening to it, which like I said, I've watched this before, it's good old JR and Bob Caudle are on the mics. And I knew who Bob Caudle was. I've heard of him. I've never really listened to him. I did during this match. It's great to listen to him. I mean, you obviously can pick out JR's voice. It's a much younger JR than what we're probably used to. But him and Bob Caudle do a great job of calling this match. So now, again, they just showed Michael Hayes kind of weaseling his way out, trying not to get into the match here. And I'll talk about the tag teams once again. So you have LOD, you have the Freebirds, Midnight Express, Samoan SWAT Team, and then the odd man out is Steve Williams. But there's just that alone. Those 4 tag teams are big names. And I've said it a bunch of times already, but they're not, I want to say what WWE had at the time were teams that were just as good. So this is definitely an era of tag teams. Teams that were in the WWE at the same time in July of 1989 were Demolition. They had the Hart Foundation. They had the Bushwhackers, and they had the Brain Busters. So it's really weird, especially if you're a WCW guy or WCW fan, to know that the Brain Busters, who is Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, are not with WCW. They're with the WWF at that time. Almost couldn't get the WWWs, but it's just such a great era of tag team wrestling. So we got, where are we down to? Like we don't need one person each from each team. Is that where we're at right now? Or is it one or two? Let's see here. Who we got there? We got both the Samoan SWAT team, Jimmy, Terry, Animals in, Bobby Eaton, we got Stan Lane and Hawk are left on one team, and then Michael Hayes is the last one on the other team. Something I do find kind of interesting is you have Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes. They're wearing like matching gear because they're a tag team. But for some reason, Terry, it is Terry Gordy, I believe, by the way. And I wrote it down wrong for some reason. But Terry he's just not, it's just weird. He doesn't look like he's a part of the Freebirds. And that just may be something I'm paying attention to for no reason. I don't know. We got some work going on here. And you got Jimmy and Bobby Eaton who basically go at it the entire match. So, I mean, you got to think those two guys started this out, and this is like a 25, 30-minute match. So that you got to be getting exhausted, man. And Steve Williams and Terry are going at it in one ring. I wanted to see, I guess when I started, because I knew Steve Williams was in this, I just wanted to see him powerbomb somebody. That's all I wanted. So there we go. Stan Lane's coming in, making the numbers even. He's going to work. He's firing up, dude. And it's so we're all even right here, and we're waiting. So we have at least 4 minutes left now, because Hawk still needs to come in, and Michael Hayes. So they're all going to work. And again, it's not big spots. Like if you watch them now, they're massive spots in these war game matches now, but I don't think they have a top on them. I don't think they have a ceiling anymore. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure they don't, but they I know they don't, but then they did. So you couldn't really get the big on the top of the cage jumping in spots in the 80s. You can now, but you're just mostly just watching guys beat each other down. There's not, it's not to say these matches aren't exciting, because they are. It's just they don't have the opportunity for big spots like they do today. It's still great. I mean, you're watching Animal there, put it to one of the Samoan SWAT teams in the corner. You got the Midnight Express working together. Here's Bobby Eaton doing that same thing where he grabs the top of the cage and does a front kick to Jimmy Garvin. Seen that a couple times in this match. It's a cool move. It's great. It's something different that I'm sure these people haven't seen before. And then here we go. There's Fatu, little Rikishi. Him and Samu are working on the Animal. And I like the Samoan SWAT team. I'm a big fan of that team. Just those teams, and I mean, just the whole Samoan teams itself, the Head Shrinkers, stuff like that. I think they're great tag teams. Michael Hayes has got to get in there now, dude. Is he in there now? I wish they had a clock. That's which there's no clock, which I guess if I had the commentary on, I would be able to hear it. But there's no clock to say how many left. So there's Michael Hayes. So now we know we have 2 more minutes. Hawk's going to make his way into the ring. And if you ever get the chance, go check out some old school promos by the Road Warriors, especially Hawk. Because anytime, it didn't matter who it was, if it was Mean Gene or whoever, and they would pass the mic off, what do you think about that, Hawk? Well, it was every time. Well, I loved it. I still love it today. I do it. I'll drop one of those in mid conversation. It doesn't matter to me. So here we go. Michael Hayes is taunting Hawk on the outside. Hawk can't get in yet. His time is not up. Another great shot. The shots of the cameramen are doing that's what I really love about these matches. You can get some really creative shots as a cameraman. So there's a cameraman actually in the cage, but it's those cool ones that they shoot. They just did one. Maybe they'll do another one here in a second. Well, they'll shoot like through the cage and kind of get like the action centered, but you're looking through the cage itself. I think it's a great look, especially with it being these the fence, chain link fences. So there we go. Michael Hayes is finally in here. And who's that? Stan Lane. Stan Lane's working on him. And it's a lot of Irish whips. A lot of Irish whips in this match. A lot of Irish whips, a lot of just punches. And again, if you watch side by side with today, there's a lot more spots in today's. I know I've already said that, but it's not that they're boring. It's not boring. There's just a lot going on. So everybody's choking somebody now. We got that's how we're, and you see Hawk, and this is what's going, like, the crowd's going to explode. And they do. You see the hands, you see the people in the back raising their arms, brothers. You got a double clothesline off the top. Another clothesline. He's just clotheslining everybody in sight. And so, yeah, he's getting Terry there, and he'll probably work his way around to Jimmy, who's on the other side. Got all these back fists and front fists. And again, another Irish whip. But yeah, throw him into the ropes. So, yeah, so Hawks came in. He's pretty much run everybody down. He's going to slam. That was a good snake eyes. Threw Jimmy Garvin and snake eyes on the turnbuckle. That's pretty cool. That's not a move that you don't see that a whole lot anymore either. And so what we got here? Everybody just kind of wearing down, getting to the end of the match. And Hayes is just out, I guess. Bobby Eaton's doing some work. Bobby Eaton, man, unsung hero of this match. He just kept going. He's always somewhere. He's in the middle of it somewhere. And you see everybody just kind of sitting around where everybody's getting worn out, except for Bobby Eaton, putting it to Michael Hayes, throws him against Cage. Now we're on one ring. So this is what I was talking about. I wish they would spread out a little more. Everybody kind of migrated to the other ring, and then they'll kind of migrate back over. See Paulie dangerously trying to get the cell phone in there so one of the guys can use it. Referees stopping him, and it's the old bow tie referees, my favorites. So let's get in here. I was looking for, and one of the things I was talking about at the top of this cage, if you know the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, they have their finisher, which is where they put somebody up on top of Animal's shoulders and Hawk comes down with a flying clothesline. And the Doomsday device, and I don't think you can do it in here. I don't think there's enough. I don't think it is in this match at all, but I don't think there's enough clearance where you could do that. In fact, I know there's not, because they were gorilla press slamming guys off the top. So, I mean, that would have been cool to see in this match, obviously, because that's probably the biggest team in this match. It just didn't happen. It couldn't physically happen. So we're just everybody's just kind of slowing down, or they're showing that everybody's tired. They've been in there. They've been in this War Games. So everybody's just kind of getting some rest, hanging on some rope, just laying on the mat there. Terry Gordy. Oh, they do try to get it. Maybe they do get it. So they get Animal's got Terry. He's going to try and set him up for it. Oh, that's Jimmy Garvin saves the day. Hawk still comes down with a flying clothesline on Jimmy. So I'm trying to think where we go from here. I have watched this. They're going to try again. They got a neck breaker. And I think this is upcoming. This is getting real close to, this is really cool. Check this out. This is the first time I've seen this. Hawk gets Jimmy Garvin up in a hangman, a neck breaker looking kind of submission. And it's so awesome. I don't know why I've never seen this, but Jimmy Garvin submits, and that's it. That's it for the War Games. The crowd's going crazy. The good guys win, the bad guys lose, and we'll stop it there. And there's more that comes on a little bit after that match, a little bit of a skirmish. They lock out all the good guys, and it's just Hawk, and they beat him down for a little bit. Eventually somebody gets in and saves him, right? Yeah. So yeah, that was the Great American Bash from 1989. That was in Baltimore, Maryland at the Baltimore Arena. It's a great match. It's really cool. It's not a super long match, but it's worth the watch. Thank you for joining me. Remember, check out the Instagram, the YouTube channel, the podcast, all at Wrestleverse. Well, bye.